That makes it also a great year, probably for Ocorian with this new tool on board. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cards Against Complexity. Today with me, David Gilchrist from Ocorian. David, welcome.
Hi, nice to see you. How you doing?
Good to have you on the show and see you now for a 15-minute recording. Typically, we see each other in calls left and right. Ocorian, for everyone as a reference, is also a customer of NextMatter. We'll talk about this in a second. But before we get started, not everyone will know Ocorian. And even if I told everyone the industry you're in, probably not everyone will know what that means. So maybe you can give us a quick introduction of Ocorian itself, and then also maybe a few points of what you're doing there and what got you there.
Yeah, no problem at all. And again, delighted to be here, right? So, Ocorian. So, Ocorian is an asset servicing business. We service asset owners, either high net worth or ultra net worth individuals, corporates, or their asset managers, right? So, fund managers, PE houses, infrastructure, real estate funds. And Ocorian ultimately helps them to focus on what they do best, their core business. And we take on the support for everything else. So everything from fiduciary responsibilities to administration, accounting, breaking down complex regulatory requirements and supporting our clients with that. And we operate in, over 20 geographies around the world. So a truly international business. And within that, I sit in the fund services pillar of Ocorian, and I look after our product development. So I'm in charge of everything to do with our fund services tech stack, our product development roadmap, and ultimately how we work with vendors like NextMatter to enhance our offering and to digitize what we do for our clients. So that's Ocorian in a nutshell. And in terms of how I ended up there, I am a strategy consultant by trade. I then also a little bit of technology consulting along the way with some of the big four with KPMG. And ultimately, the opportunity at Ocorian was too good to say no to, right? It's really exciting. It's at the tip of the spear for innovation and what we're doing across our tech stack. So I've been there for 3.5 years now. I've been with Ocorian and loving it.
Very exciting journey from everything that I can tell just from the sidelines, and being in the middle of this must be even several times better. We'll dive into this in a second.
Sure.
Before we do that, this show is called Cards Against Complexity for a good reason, because we do have cards that we play against getting complexity out of the way. They're typically geared towards you, and we've got a set here. I had a peek before. I think we're good to go here. Let me know if you can see it. And for everyone that has followed the show, you know the principle already, but for everyone else, I'll just reintroduce this. Cards Against Complexity. The principle is very similar to Cards Against Humanity. We've got a card on the left-hand side with a sentence that needs completion. And David, you'll have the chance to complete it, and you've got 3 options on the right-hand side. Now, these might not be perfect, but you'll have to choose one. And please take me through what you're thinking and why you made your choice. So let's get started. We've got this one. In 2026, what's the next year, your team can only build one tool to manage your clients' funds. You pick a software that flawlessly predicts the ROI of fund investments. That would come in handy. A program that rewrites financial regulations in your favor without anyone noticing. Or a tool that turns complex fund reports into easy to digest TikTok videos.
Love these. Okay. Oh, it's a good question. Which one would I pick? I think you're going to be hard pressed to get a better option than number one, right? I think if you are flawlessly predicting the ROI of fund investments, you've cracked the code, I would say, on the industry. So absolutely the one for me in terms of my top pick there. But that being said, if I could digest complex fund reporting into TikTok videos, I don't know how perceptive some people would be to that, but I certainly think that would be different in terms of an offering in the market.
Sure be different.
Yeah. I think for me, to pick one, I have to pick the first one.
Okay.
I have to pick the first one. I mean, I also would just say I have no interest in rewriting financial regulations. Just to
If
put
the
that out
tool
there.
does it,
Hey, hey,
AI, I mean, can do many things these days. If it does it
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah,
you and
yeah.
nobody notices,
No,
maybe.
no, no. Listen, they're very important and they're there, right? And also
Uh,
part of our business model is breaking down complex regulatory requirements, right? So I don't want to do this out of a disservice.
yeah, and there's good reasons for complexity. I mean, that's something that we always touch, right? Like there is complexity in enterprises, in financial services, in regulation, in industries for very good reasons. Some of that not, but especially with regulation, a lot of this is there for good reasons, and it has to be there to keep things running. But within a compliant industry to get guaranteed predictions of ROI, well, that would be probably a good product to have.
Yeah, I think it'd be quite
Cool.
good.
So we know what your 2026 product roadmap entails. That makes it also a great year, probably for Ocorian with this new tool on board. Now that's glancing very far into the future. Right now, and maybe also like in the past few years that you've now been with Ocorian, I would love to understand and would love for everyone else to understand the current state of the industry, I would say, or past state of the industry over the last few years that fund services and maybe in general asset services have been in. And the transformation that you're going through right now with Ocorian, because I think this is really interesting to understand where you're at and then where you're aiming to take this as Ocorian.
Yeah. So there's a lot to break down there, right? I guess if I start with the industry and certainly the expectations of our clients, I think more and more what we're seeing is that it's no longer the kind of nice to have for real time, access to data or real time processing, or doing things in a seamless digital way, I would say, because if you think about our clients and their clients, their investors, every other aspect of technology of their lives that they talk to and that they deal with seems to have that to hand, whether it's banking or anything in their personal lives, that it's there in a digital way and easy to access. And I think for us as fund administrators, we need to make sure that we're keeping up with that. So a big part of what we have been doing over the last, and I'm very, very proud of the work that we've been doing since, over the last 3.5, 4 years, is to really invest in our technology stack and to bring it up to what I think is a market leading proposition that does just that, right? Which digitizes touch points, which makes our clients' lives easier and their clients, their investors' lives easier as well. So I would say in terms of where the industry's got to, I would say that it's no longer a nice to have. It is absolutely, certainly from a technology perspective, it is a must have for us to keep up with the pace of change that we're seeing, right? Because not only is it, it's the only way to keep up with the changing behaviors that we're seeing in the market from investors and from clients, right? And that's only going to get further as we democratize, how we raise capital and so on.
So you're taking Ocorian on this journey
Mm-hmm.
together with your team, and maybe take us a bit into the reality of doing this every day. Obviously, you can't disclose the details. There's a lot of compliance around this as well, for good reasons. But maybe, like, if I look at it as a professional from even a different industry or another financial services player, what's the reality that you have to confront in day-to-day digital transformation?
Yeah.
And what are a few of the things you are doing to move fast and get the results that you want within a reasonably short time frame of 3 to 4 years?
Yeah. So, it's a great question. So I think I'm very lucky to be a part of the team that have been carrying this forward at Ocorian. But the journey that we started 3.5, 4 years ago was to think about how we standardize both our operating model and the ways in which we do things, right? So kind of thinking about moving from our jurisdictional led view to more standard operating functional pillars, right? So that is a first step. You get a lot of people in a room agreeing, how we will do things in a standardized way. It's painful because rightly so, organically things grow up or we have, different jurisdictional needs and so on. And those things need to be considered. But ultimately you're looking to standardize 80 to 90% of these processes, right? So having gone through that work and again invested on bringing people into that operating model and into how we standardize, we're in a really good position to digitize, right? Because we don't have to think about the 1 in 1,000 use case that appears everywhere. We're able to actually to deal with 90% of those use cases and how we deliver things today. So for me, it's about standardizing where you can. You're always going to have those bespoke cases where you need to tailor processes or how you align teams, but ultimately, that was a huge part of how we are now in a really good position and have been in a good position to leverage technology in what I again think is a very competitive way. But in terms of actually bringing people along in that journey and getting them involved, I think the only way that we do this, you cannot drag people into this. You have to bring them on the journey. And again, a lot of the team members that have been that are kind of involved in things like Next Matter and our deployment of that have been through that journey with us, right? To understand the ultimate vision of where we're pushing the business and where we're going in 2025 and beyond. So you have to bring them with you on it, and you have to acknowledge that their input is valid. They're the people, they're the experts. The whole point of this is that we want to really rely on them and their value, kind of adding services. That's what our clients want. They want that trusted advisor at the end of the email, end of the phone, and so on, that they can speak to. And what we're talking about is making sure that they focus and can focus all of their time on that, right? And not having to worry about anything else in the background.
If I play this back to your summarizers, so build a strong foundation by getting everyone together with clear standards, almost an organizational view, and there's almost no technology in there. You just want alignment on the road ahead. And then as you go on that road and as you go on the journey, take the team along, take the experts along, take the individuals along, take the organization along. And in the end, build it in service of customers so that they get the best possible outcome, serviced by their teams, empowered by technology. But in the end, acknowledging that there's a human in there, and there are
100%.
experts in there, and that's the relationship, especially in your business, but across financial services, across other industries, the human-to-human relationship is the most important one. They are supported by technology.
100%. And again, maybe because it's so implicit, I didn't call it out, but all of this is client led, right? So the client is at the center of this, and that is a big part of how we operate at Ocorian, not just within fund services, but across the board, right? So everything that we are doing comes directly from what we hear from our clients, how they want to work with us and partner with us. So that human in the loop is absolutely key. But the entire vision is how to better service our clients and how we fold into that model of true collaboration and true partnership with our clients. So it's been really exciting, and we've so many more plans for 2025, which I'm really excited about as well. It's been a really exciting journey, and delighted that it's continuing.
As part of that journey, you brought us on board. So you brought Next Matter on board. We started our partnership last year. We made it official in a release a few weeks ago. Can you talk a bit more about what you were seeing as the challenge and the opportunity that you wanted to solve for, and why you brought on Next Matter?
Sure. And what we have built and what we're continuing to build is really, really special. So I can talk about it as much as I can publicly till the cows come home. But so in terms of the use case, right? So if I talk about that journey we were on, right? So we are investing in our technology stack. We are very modular in our approach. So we make sure that we can draw down on different solutions for different client needs in terms of where they are on the value chain and where they are in their own maturity, right? So that was a big focus, to make sure that we had that full 360 ecosystem in play, linked into our core kind of platform in the middle. And we've done that, and that was great. But the next evolution of that is, how do we think about further digitizing our touch points with our clients? Number one. Number two, how do we effectively deal with additional complexity that we're seeing from our clients, dealing with those pressures in the market and in the industry that we've spoken about, and also just dealing with significantly more volume, right? So if we think about how we, are going after bigger mandates and being successful with bigger mandates as well, the answer has to be technology led, right? And has to be technology enabled. We simply are getting past the point that we can be dealing with, kind of bums on seats for all these things. So it was kind of those three aspects we were thinking about. And as part of our kind of due diligence, we came across Next Matter, and we started to think about, okay, this is a very configurable platform. This is very flexible. Actually, this could augment some of our control frameworks in a different way, and how we can think about it for internal operations as well. But I think what really kind of nailed it for us was that the collaboration was there from the start, right? So it was very quick to value, very quick to an MVP, very quick to piloting this, very quick to collectively getting feedback from clients on tweaks and being able to adjust and be flexible for that. It was really, really good, really good to see, and in the true spirit of partnership, which was fantastic. So I think it was the use case of digitization of our touch points and really making us truly digital across all of the services that we deliver to our clients, but also that's that partnership and that approach piece, which again, big plans for 2025, but even for what we've built so far has been quite a differentiator, which is great.
And it's really exciting to see, because I think what you've done in a product approach is what you just said: iterate with clients early. That's, I think, one of the key success factors we see in the way you roll out Next Matter. You went early and fast, and then put things, just as we say about product, put it into users' hands and clients' hands. So this has been a really great journey, I think, for both our teams, collaborating not only closely with your team, but with your clients to make that end-to-end workflow and end-to-end process from your team to your client back through all the systems seamless and orchestrated and automated, still keeping all those human experts in the loop. And you've teased this now a few times. Lots ahead in 2025, 2026. We know we'll predict ROI, but 2025 and beyond, your outlook. You can probably not share the details of Ocorian's roadmap, Ocorian's plan, and your personal projects, but maybe let's look a bit broader at the industry. Everybody's talking about AI.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about all kinds of other things. Financial services industry is developing. Where do you see the next evolution going this year, next few years for financial services organizations?
Yeah, I think, listen, I don't think it's a surprise or a particular secret that AI and automation are probably at the top of every agenda of every organization that you're seeing, certainly within financial services, right? Everyone's looking for how they can leverage machine learning models to, LLMs or to anything generative AI, right? And how they can bolt that in. I think certainly from my perspective, in terms of how we view that, I definitely see it as an enabler, as well as, it has a disrupting ability, but really we viewing it as an enabler is the way to think about it. So how you augment a process, how you make a team member's life easier, how you have them focus on the real significant value add activities for clients. This is how I view it, and how I think it makes most sense, right? If you can have automation working in the background to do what you need, then ultimately back to keeping the human in the loop and thinking about how we embed that into our core processes. That leads to increased transparency, right? You're looking at system generated flows of data automatically moving between system rather than someone going in, manipulating an Excel, dragging it, uploading it, and so on. It leads to quicker turnaround times for clients. It leads to increased accuracy and so on. But it all comes down to approaching it with that kind of tech enablement attitude for me. And I can't comment on how many other players in the industry are looking at it in that shape or form, but certainly for me, that's the view. It is, how do we make our teams' lives easier and make our clients have a better experience with us as a business through the use of automation and AI, and how that allows us to go, to evolve, right, our offering to go up in terms of our kind of value plan, and our value added activities. That's the way I think we view it on our side. But the reality is, that these are commoditized. A lot of these are off the shelf at the minute. And if you aren't using them and you haven't deployed, then it's really time to pick up the pace and really time to, have a few conversations on automation, I would say. But I don't know how many players would sit in that box.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that outlook and all the other experience you shared from in your journey transforming Ocorian. There's probably much more to dive into. To round it off at the end, I mean, TikTok reports eventually we might see would be something to even spice up, I think, financial services reports from time to time for somebody else to consider. For 2026, you've got a perfect ROI calculator on the roadmap. To close this, maybe as you go back into your week and go back into the work that you've been doing over the last 3-4 years, and you're certainly doing for quite a while longer, what excites you the most about this?
Impact of change, I think is the biggest one. And again, that always starts with our clients, and certainly the crescendo of really positive client conversations that we've been having is a testament to that. And it's a delight, right? Whenever you see that what we've built works, it's, people's eyes are lighting up in the room whenever we're talking to them about technology and on what we've built, and you see that it is resonating. But also for our teams, right? Whenever it starts as a blank page, you're thinking about your design principles, and then you fast forward 12 months, and you've processed, thousands of documents through an OCR NLP platform, and you have teams who are really excited and feeding back to you on features and functionality that they want. Like, it's that impact, I think, and getting feedback both from clients and team members. That's the biggest thing.
Thank you so much, David, for your time. I love the conversation. I love the journey. Thanks for having us on this journey.
No, thanks for being
very
a part
exciting
of it.
start we had over the last few months, and way to go. Thank you for your partnership. Thanks for sharing your insights here for everyone else as well. And I guess next call I'll see you is a steerco somewhere down the line.
Yeah, in a few days. Yeah, okay. Good to see you, Jan. Listen, thank you for having me, and speak soon.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you. Bye.